And who have I got in the chat? Did you see that, Betsy?
I am seeing no chat. There's no chatting going on.
Okay, fine. And can I ask who's at 802-425-1371?
Oh, Ian Smiley is at 802-465-1371.
There you go. Thank you very much. I should rename you guys, but I'm not going to. And how about at 802-999?
Hi, that's Whitney Layton.
Hi, Whitney. Thank you.
Hi.
Okie dokie. So our next order of business is to review and approve our check warrants. I believe we have quite a number of check warrants tonight.
2 AP and 1 payroll.
I have, yes. So we'll start with the payroll. The payroll, AP 00720, total amount of $9,556.40. I would entertain a motion to approve this warrant.
Bill, so moved.
Second, John.
Thank you, John. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed and abstentions. Thank you. So let's see. The other warrant we have is, so there's an AP warrant dated 7/22. Let me make sure you can see that a little better. I hope this is working somewhat for you guys.
This is Mary Kate. I move to approve check warrant report number 00722.
And the amount of that warrant is some $22,932.48.
Second by Bill.
Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the warrant, this is an accounts receivable 00722 in the amount of $22,932.48. Please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed and abstentions. Thank you. And the last one along this is, let's see, a smaller one. This is an accounts receivable 00725 for an amount of $9,326.96. All of that is related to, that's a new building expense, all of that.
I move, Mary Kate, I move to approve check warrant 00725 in the amount of $9,326.96.
Second by Bill.
Awesome. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Yes, please.
See how Bill Joe's has these set up by vendor and they have their codes. I'm just curious if there's like a subset or subclass of vendors that he can push a button and see everything that has to do with the town hall. So
Oh, absolutely. It goes, it's, yes, is the answer to that.
okay.
And I had a question as well, Mary Kate.
Yes, Mary Kate.
So this is the town's paying these now. Are these going to come out of the bond and get reimbursed back into the town account?
They are.
Yep, great.
They are. This is, these are the kinds of expenses that the bond anticipation note is there for. Although I think we still have money in the building capital fund.
Great.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed? And abstentions. Okay, so great. Let me just get rid of those because we'll want to talk about other stuff when we get there. All right, there we go. Overweight permits, Bill.
There was just one this last 10 days, and I signed it at 6:30, and Sharon has already sent that to Betsy.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so there's a lot of people here who have not participated before in one of our select board meetings, and I think that's great. I suspect a lot of them have questions and statements to make under some of our new business, but we're at public comment. So the select board has 15 minutes that we set aside for public comment for people who want to discuss stuff with the select board that's not on the agenda. We are pretty liberal in our allowing people to speak to the, to the subject matter of whatever the agenda item is. My guess is that we are not going to spend, well, we'll see. Let me see how it goes. My guess is that I'm not going to prejudge anything. Let's go with this. So I will open it up for 15 minutes of public comment. Is there anybody here who's interested in commenting on or has an issue that's not already on the agenda?
This is Terry Fitzgerald, and my concern is on the agenda, but I just want to be clear that you're saying that when you get to that item on the agenda, you do allow public comment at that time?
We do.
So I should save it for then rather than
Yeah, I
speaking
think
on
that's
something.
I think that's appropriate. I mean, it's not clear to me. I know that a lot of people have come to the select board meeting with the thought that this is a great venue to discuss, the differences between All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter and all of those sort of political distinctions. And I think that's an important discussion to have. I'm not sure that the select board meeting is the place to have it. That being said, I mean, we're going to go through a process here. The first one was, I spoke to the town attorney, Jim Carroll.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
before we get into this,
Yep.
some people who said they were interested were told that this business would not be taken up before 7:30.
That's fine.
And I guess
I
the
can.
town attorney report isn't necessarily part of it, but it may bear on it. So I just thought I'd mention that.
No, that's fine. So, and I'm perfectly willing to skip forward to other pieces of the agenda until 7:30 comes up. Thank you for pointing that out, John. So I'm going to skip all the way down to survey of Lower Bennett Road. This was anyway, that it's come to the attention of the select board, myself in particular, that there are parts of what our parcel maps look like and what the road looks like seem to be inconsistent. Here's the parcel map. This is Bennett Road right here. As you can see, Bennett Road is meant to bend a little bit. That would be a little bit to the west. And then come and intersect with Hollow Road at closer to a right angle. And that really doesn't match very well, let's see, with how it looks currently on from Google Maps. That's the way it really looks in real life. And this landowner has expressed for a number of years that he felt like the town was taking land away from him. So what I think that the town would be well served by doing asking a third party, LaRose Surveyors or somebody like it, to do a survey of the bottom part of Bennett Road and see how it really should work. And if in fact we are, if in fact that people and the traffic pattern has eroded some of his property.
This is Mary Kate. Steve, this is a tax map?
This is our parcel map, yes.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is that, these maps aren't meant to be surveys, and
Sure.
so they're not exacting. But if there is an issue where the landowner, so I'm less concerned about the map being, exactly accurate as I am about the issue of the landowner saying perhaps that the road isn't within the town right away, the
Yeah.
highway right away. Is that what?
Yeah, I think some of that is his claim. To be honest with you, I'm trying to find ways to work with that landowner. He has a number of complaints against the town, and this seems like a first pass as a way to try and show that we are working in good faith on those issues.
This is Bill. I feel it's a good idea. Ben and I have met with that landowner, I think twice, maybe 5 and 8 months ago, to get him to agree to let us put a culvert in at no expense to him. And he refused because he said we were taking more of his land.
Yeah.
I'll agree with what Mary Kate was saying about the tax map is far from a defining or survey grade, but my understanding, Steve, is you're not saying we should make it look like the tax map. You're saying we should investigate to what it is supposed to look like.
Sure.
And if a change is warranted by that investigation, we'd go ahead and do it.
Exactly. So, I mean, as shown on that parcel map, this parcel has been surveyed, and all of these parcels should have been surveyed. It shouldn't be rocket science to throw some pins in there and show us really where the road is supposed to be.
Yeah, it sounds like given the issues with the landowner, it's in the town's interest to get the road
All right.
way surveyed.
And this is Paul Lowe.
Yes, Paul.
I'm sorry, Mary Kate, if you're not done, I'll hold on.
Nope. All set. Thanks, Paul.
No, I spoke with the owners too. I think his primary interest was to have the select board come down and he wanted to explain to us his concerns. I think I think there's these are circumstances where if we come down there, we can try and feel out exactly what his specific needs are. And I agree with you, Stephen, on this, is that we probably should try and find a solution for this. But I think we're going to have to I think he wants all of us to be involved in it because I think he believes that we're sort of skirting it a little bit by the fact that he's only hearing from one person. So if we were able to go down there and perhaps talk with him and say, tell us what the problem is, maybe we could find a solution really fast and without the plans here. I mean, they're valuable, but perhaps then we could understand it better from his viewpoint.
Yep. All right. There's also a very easy way for him to get together with the entire select board.
Yeah, but I've already spoken with him about that. He really wants a presence. He wants our presence there on the site to show us.
All right. Let's take that one offline.
Yeah. If we want to do that, that's if more than 2 of us are there, that's a quorum and requires warning a select board meeting at that location.
That's true.
Well, then if we're good, I think if you want to solve the solution, that might be a way to try to do it. I don't know.
No.
I'm not arguing it. I'm just saying
All
that
right, let's go. Let me just. I mean, I'm happy to go out and reach out to LaRose if you guys think it's a good idea. If it's a bad idea, I'll just shelve it.
I think it's worth doing. However, don't be fooled by the fact that the land has been surveyed, because a road survey is different than a land survey.
Perfect. Thank you, John. What I'll do is I'll get a quote and return to the select board at our next meeting. How we doing? Not quite yet.
May I ask a question?
Please, Melody.
This is Melody. Hey, do you guys have closed captions available? Like, can you?
We do not. Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. Maybe, I would like to request that you guys investigate closed caption. It's pretty, Terry Fitzgerald has figured it out. It is something available through Zoom. I just went off on another tab and looked it up. So,
Okay.
whoever is instigating the meeting has to be the one to activate it. But don't worry about it this meeting, but I would recommend that.
Okay. Thank you.
If I can make a comment on that, it's a beta program that I'm using and it wasn't available this past Sunday, so I can get some information to you. If it is still available, I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
More and more things I learn about Zoom. More and more every day. Okay. I'm going to push on to the Old Stage Road traffic issues. John, do you want to start us on that?
Well, I get the summary from our last meeting is that we've had ongoing complaints of speeders and people not driving appropriate to the condition and visibility on the road. They want the town to look at options for controlling the traffic and improving safety. So Steve, Ben, and I met with, and I forget the guy's name from VTrans, Steve.
Todd, I don't have his last name in mind.
Who agreed that there are issues with the road, and one of his first things was signage, and made several recommendations about, narrow bridge, narrow roadway sorts of signs, and what was the other one was, normally to change the speed limit on the road, you need to do a traffic survey, and we don't really have direct control over what the speed limit would be. The speed limit is what the survey comes out to. Since this is a narrow road, and as he measured, it was below a certain cutoff, I don't remember the exact dimensions, he said we may be able to change the speed limit to, I believe he said as low as 25 miles an hour.
Yeah. And John, I just wanted to be sure, Todd was from the Vermont Local Roads. Is that what you said?
Oh, I said VTrans. Maybe I was wrong on that.
No, he's a technical specialist for Vermont Local Roads.
Okay.
He also had
VTrans, the guy who couldn't make it at the last minute.
No, they're both local roads guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just as one other update, as we were there, Ben mentioned that he had 2 caution horseback riding type signs that he'd gotten in at the request of the of folks in the area, and he was going to be touching base with them to see where was a good place to put that up. I don't know if anything has happened since our Friday meeting there.
Good. I think we've also, we had a direct email exchange between one of the people who's concerned down there and the sheriff agreed to kind of randomize when the patrols were going through. All right, that's close enough. So let me go back again and talk a little bit about at our last meeting on July 13th, at the request of someone who came in and spoke to us, we allowed a Black Lives Matter sign to be placed on public lands. So one of the things that caused is for me to reach out to the town attorney. Jim Carroll is our attorney at in Middlebury. He said that by putting a political sign, basically, that we had created a public forum. That in public forums, you can only regulate signs on a content-free basis, i.e., you can regulate the size of signs, you can regulate the positioning of signs. You can't put one sign on top of the other, but that's really all you can do. I suggested, so I think the select board, now having had 2 weeks to think upon it, I suggested that there's 3 questions that we would have with regards to a public forum. And not necessarily in order, was 1, do we want a public forum? 2, are we authorized to create a public forum? And 3, if we want a public forum, is the area between town hall and the library where we want that public forum? So, if you will, I guess I would be interested in, and here's I will allow some I'll allow some of the folks present to weigh in on this issue as well. I guess I would ask the first question of, do we want a public forum? Does that make sense? Is it good for the town? Is that what we want? Now that we know what it is that we are doing, needless to say, if we say no, we don't want a public forum, then we're not going to allow the posting of an All Lives Matter sign, and we're going to ask that the Black Lives Matter sign comes down. So I guess I would ask the board first, and then I also will entertain comments from our many guests tonight.
If nobody else on the board has one, I have one comment about the public forum. Is that it's not clear to me that our unified planning document allows for those sorts of signs. There's a list there, and the list in a couple instances specifically mentions what's allowed on town property, and that's a pretty limited list. It becomes less limited at election season, but I don't know that our UPD allows for these type of signs. So I guess my concern is, was our decision last meeting made in error because we did not go back and refer to the unified planning document?
Well, so John, just let me challenge you just for a second and say, I mean, clearly there's no problem with an All Lives Matter or a Black Lives Matter sign on somebody's private property.
Yeah, I don't see that that's the question here, though.
Well, I mean, it's not part of the exempt signs. I mean, I don't know.
It's we're not talking about private property for this issue. We're talking about town property.
Okay. Melody.
I'd like to ask for clarification. Isn't there always like a 2-week? I know that the Black Lives Matter sign that I requested
Yep.
went up 2 weeks ago. But aren't we now in the period of time where it's the 2 weeks before the primary season thing where political signs are supposed to be allowed?
So, yeah, you're jumping ahead on me a little bit, but that's fine. Our normal policy has been to allow for campaign signs, like, you know, Joe Walsh for a state senator or what have you, 2 weeks ahead of the election, and then those signs all have to be gone a week after that election.
Thought it was a day after.
Right, that's what I meant. Sorry, talk much.
So are you thinking of two separate issues then? Like, I'm just unclear what you're getting at. Like, are you thinking of banning all signs, including the vote for Joe Schmo sign, or are, you know what I mean? Like, or are you thinking that the signs like Black Lives Matter should only be allowed during the political season, or though you called them political, are you suggesting that they shouldn't be allowed at all?
On town property? Right, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
of course, yeah.
obviously they're allowed on in front of your house, and
Right.
the select board's got nothing to say about that. We're really talking about town property,
Correct.
and you know, because this is not an election sign, right? This is not directly related to the election. It's not a temporary sign. It's not, right. It really is. It's a, you know, it deals with a political issue.
Don't people, I mean, I've seen signs like in the past for vote for the town hall. I mean, in Burlington, you see signs all the time, vote yes on this, vote no on
Sure,
that.
absolutely. And those are exactly the, but a Black Lives Matter sign is not a vote for Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is not on the it's not on the ballot.
Yeah, but it's a reminder for people to be considering it. Like when I pick who I vote for, I absolutely consider that. Just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't know. I mean, it's a lot more than a political sign, but anyway, so it sounds to me like you guys are going to decide this, and I think it's too bad in a way that the order of this has come the way it has, because if you guys decide not to allow signs, then that's going to make, it's almost going to shut down conversation that is really healthy to have. How often do people have an opportunity, especially with COVID, right, to converse with each other about important things like the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter debate? So I think it's unfortunate that you chose to put this first, actually.
So I guess and I should stop talking, but I'll make my last point and then I'll try and shut up. Number one is that I think that select board, who we are and what our function is in the town, should be completely nonpartisan. That's really that's not what we do. You don't vote for Bill Martin because he was a Republican, or for John McNerney because he's a Democrat, or anything like that. You hopefully vote for people that you think have the best interests of the town as their focus. I do think there's room for this discussion. I obviously think there's room for this discussion. The last time we had this many people at a select board meeting, we were discussing Vermont gas. So you know, would the select board be willing to host a discussion? Would you know, the Moncton Democratic Town Committee? I know it would. I happen to know the chair. You know, I think there's a place. I'm just not sure the select board is the place. But you're right. I set it up this way. I'm interested in some other opinions.
So Steve, Mary Kate,
Yeah, okay.
I wanted to sort of get back to the first question that you asked about, you know, do we want it to be a public forum? And I guess I have sort of mixed thoughts about that. On the one hand, I think a lot of good has come out of the sign being up, and the response, although I don't agree with the All Lives Matter signs, I do think it's created a conversation, and you know, that's part of what free speech is all about, is to have conversations about things. I would also say that, you know, in terms of you know, I guess, you know, I still sort of believe that free speech is a good thing, and the more we converse, the more we're going to come to mutual understanding and respect for one another, and make better decisions. My thoughts about that has been challenged through the changes we've gone through, you know, with regard to social media, where people are not conversing with one another and having conversations, but just posting stuff on social medias. And, you know, and that's gotten nasty. I think, though, that the conversations I've seen on Facebook, and, you know, conversations about people getting together in book groups and having more conversations about the Black Lives Matter and the raising of the All Lives Matter issue has been a really good thing, and people seem to have been respectful in those conversations. So, you know, putting the sign out, and I think overall it's been good. I do worry a little bit about, you know, creating that little space that we have, having it overrun with signs of on all sorts of things, you know, people's points of view on all sorts of things. So, you know, that's a little bit of concern. And I do think the fact that people have to come to the select board to get permission to put a sign is more creates conversation, as opposed to just posting something on social media. But it is a little bit like social media, in that you're just putting the sign there, and the sign itself isn't the conversation. You know, so I've got kind of mixed feelings, but I have seen some really good conversation come from this, and so I'm happy to see that.
Let's see, did we lose Paul? Or he just went off the screen for me? No, there he is.
He's
All right.
there.
Yep,
I'm here.
good. There you go. Yes, you are. Bill, I think you voted to not allow the sign at the first vote?
I voted to not allow it for the very reason that Mary Kate spoke before I did at that last meeting, that it would be opening the door to all kinds of signs. And then we also had a motion about supporting the principle of Black Lives Matter, and I voted for that. But I think we made a big mistake in allowing the Black Lives Matter sign. For the simple, not because I'm for or against anything, for the simple reason that we could have 100 signs there next week from heaven knows what groups.
Right.
May I add a comment?
Of course you can.
So this is Terry Fitzgerald. And of course, I live right across from the Green. And it does concern me, the potential for a number of signs to be posted there with a lot of controversy. And of course, we have to recognize that there is controversy in the community, that there is a place for these discussions to take place. And I would like to see some kind of public forum that is not just the center of town filled with signs. Call me Pollyanna, a lot of people do, but I like it when I see people walking out from the town hall to the library and greeting each other and having pleasant conversations in the middle of town. And I really don't like to see the competition of the different signs. I put up with it for the political campaigns because that's temporary kind of thing. I am totally for the Black Lives Matter, but that makes no difference to me in this discussion because there's always going to be people on both sides of issues, and there are lots and lots of issues right now that should not be swept under the rug just because I don't want to close my front blinds so that I don't have to look at this right out my window. I have a beautiful view. I'd like to keep that beautiful view in the middle of town, and I'd like to make that be a pleasant place. I know everything's moving down the street before too long, and that would just leave that as kind of a place that people who drive through town are going to get, yes, exposed to these ideas, but also I think sometimes uneasy about some of the things that are posted. And I'll speak more to why I think the All Lives Matter, even though the words sound good, is a campaign that is not one that we should be putting on public land. I'll speak to that later.
Yeah. And Terry, I think that as I said, if it's a public forum, then it's content free. We can't regulate who puts what out there. So that's sort of the rules of the road. If we want a public forum, and this is I think the first part of the discussion. We created one. Did we mean to create one? And do we want one?
Even in a public forum, I think there have to be certain things that you would, as a town regulation committee, want to avoid, such as things that represent racist ideas.
Sure, you can't incite violence. Let's just say that you can't yell. It's a classic. You can't yell fire.
Okay.
Steve, can I say something here?
Please.
All Lives Matter is not anything racial at all. We believe in racial equality. We just don't believe in the rioting, looting that's going on. So we're in contrast to that. But it seems to me that if you're going to have a public forum, you got to have everything displayed, and nothing displayed, and the town's going to decide whether or not what they want. If they want all or none, really. That's up to you. That's why we elected you, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's one of the reasons. I mean, to be honest with you, we've heard from a couple of select board members. We still have a couple more to hear from. My view, and I expressed it at our last meeting. My view is that this is probably something that's not really, that I think should be decided by the town at town meeting. That was my second question about, do we have the authority to create a public forum? But really, the first question is, do we want one? And I don't know, John or Paul, do you guys want to weigh in?
My concern is less about do we want one than I do not think the select board has the authority to create one, because I don't think we have the authority to overrule the UPD. And as I read this, first line under exempt signs, permitted without a permit when located on the immediate property. To me, that refers to the landowner's property, and the only exceptions to that specifically stated in all the letters below. Well, one might be signs erected by the state or town. The other one is letter I on the policy. And if anybody's following on home or on the phone, this is page 55 of the Unified Planning document. I is temporary signs or banners displayed on town property with select board advertising of a public or community event that are removed immediately following the event. And then M, seasonal signs associated with farm operations not to exceed blah, 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 may be put on town property with the permission of the select board.
Yep.
So anything that's, I would submit that even our allowing of political signs on public land is not a permitted use under the UPD. Yes, that's been our practice. It's been sort of our practice by default because I don't think anybody's enforced the UPD. I don't see where the select board has the authority to do anything other than signs placed by the town, community events approved by the select board, or farm operation signs approved by the select board.
So John, this is Mary Kate. So do you also think that property owners can't put a Black Lives Matter or other such sign on their property under the UPD?
I think it's a problem, but if it's outside of the town right of way, I'm not sure what the town has to say about that.
Well, if the town doesn't make it a rule, the state rules would probably proceed.
So Jamie Schulte, I'd make a comment that, the area that you're talking about there, John, signs erected by the state or town. So as long as it's erected by the town, it would be permissible. So that would require either, the preferred option would be a vote at the town meeting. I agree. That would be a fine statement. Short of that, because that's 6 months away, if the duly elected representatives of the town wanted to make a strong statement, then they could do so, and the UPD would allow that, it looks like to me. Doesn't say all signs, it says signs erected by the state or town.
And I would agree that if the select board voted to post a sign, the UPD gives us the authority to post a sign. The select board didn't do that.
I understand. I'm just making the point.
Yeah.
Your hands are not tied by this.
Well, I was speaking more to creating a public forum.
Okay.
The select board deciding to post something is a little different than creating a public forum. But I do agree, Jamie, the select board, by the way this is written, it would seem the select board would have the authority to decide, we're going to post an Eat at Joe's sign on the town green.
Correct, and not Eat at Moe's, right? So if you posted the Eat at Joe's sign there and that was the only sign you wanted to approve, then so be it, unless, the voters have a different idea down the road. I mean, that's essentially what it reads like. So
yeah,
just pointing that out.
And I think Mary Kate raised a good point that if you read through this, where's the permission for somebody to place Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter on their own property? I don't see that either, but I think that's probably a violation of a state or federal law to try to prohibit that. Our UPD can't overrule a state or federal law. But nor do I think the select board can overrule the UPD.
Okay.
So John, with what you said, I totally agree. I actually went through and after the fact, and I would say that at the very least, we may not have done a sufficient amount of homework on the rules of the PUD. And that I agree with 100%. And then my personal opinion is regarding, I have no bias regarding any signs because I believe in the freedom of speech. And yet there are people that have a philosophy, and I understand that, but I also have to recognize that we all have a freedom of speech to describe our own philosophies. However, in our public place where people are congregating or passing through, I do believe that perhaps the best way to accomplish this is for each resident, based on state law, can post their own opinions as a resident in their own property, and not necessarily be shared by the public domain which governs them, which is us, the town, the select board. And to resolve it, I think we should not create a public forum, and that we should perhaps allow people to do their best social justice based on their own beliefs in the welfare of their own home, residences, or by social media. So I don't necessarily believe that the town should take any particular viewpoint into consideration. We should just stick with the PUD and move forward.
Melody, I see you waving your hand crazily. Go ahead.
I let the record show that crazily was not an appropriate
No, I
adverb.
apologize.
So, Jamie, I appreciated your comment, and I just wanted to put out there that I originally came to the select board 2 weeks ago to ask them to post one. And then when it was clear that they weren't comfortable with that, then I switched it to the public forum. I mean, asking if I could post one. And I understand people's concerns about the public forum. I still wish that the Moncton Select Board would do what many towns and cities are doing, which is recognize the uniqueness of this particular movement and how our history as a nation and local history even suggests that it's something that's unique and worth making a statement about as a town. And that may not happen. It sounds like it probably won't happen, but that was my original wish. I'm interested, Jim Burnett, I'm interested in asking you, I've been wanting to ask somebody that's a proponent of the All Lives Matter signs this, why mimic the exact language of Black Lives Matter in your signs if what you are trying to put out there is a loving and like inclusive message? Why not say every person has value? Something like that that gets your message across without coming off like a rebuke of the Black Lives Matter movement. Because Black Lives Matter emerged as a slogan because of the hugely disproportionate number of Black people being murdered by police, as well as the whole, I mean, there's all kinds of history here. So I'm interested in, I appreciate the loving message, and I love hearing that you feel that all people should be equal and treated equally. Hopefully you're aware that that isn't historically or even currently what is happening in regard to Black people. But I hear that your wish is that all people be treated equally, and I'm just wondering, why not have a slogan that does not come off as a rebuke to Black Lives Matter?
So I mean, I have to give him a chance to respond, but this is really not, I get it. And again, this is a great conversation to have. And I'm happy to, you know, if you guys want on Thursday night, I'll set up a Zoom meeting and everybody who wants to come can come and hash this thing out. We have other stuff to do. And if we spend all night talking about, and we could, I mean, we all know we could. We've done it with our friends. We've done it with our parents. We've done it with our compatriots. But that's really not what we're doing here tonight. But Jim, you've asked a direct question. If you wish to respond, please do.
All lives matters inclusive. It includes everybody. It includes Blacks, it includes Jewish people, it includes everybody. We don't believe that Black Lives Matter is really looking out for the Black community. We believe it's run by liberals, the white liberals that are running Black Lives Matter. It's more of a movement to change the country, not to help out the Blacks. If they were really concerned about the Blacks, they would be going in the communities where Blacks are being murdered every day. Chicago and New York and places like that. If they were really concerned about Black people, because that's happening every day.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to get back to the select board question at hand. So are we interested? I mean, I guess I would entertain a motion for the creation of a public forum as our first piece of business. Or-
I'll make that motion,
Thank you.
because I do think it having the public forum is has moved the conversation forward in our community. I do want to note, Melanie, that the select board did, in fact, make a statement in support of Black Lives Matters. So I think you had indicated that you wish the select board had supported.
Oh, no, I wish
at the
you would
last-
have done the sign, is what I was saying. Yes, I appreciate the statement. That's great. I mean, yeah.
So is there a second to Mary Kate's, is there a second?
This is John. I guess I'll second it
There you go.
so that we can discuss it. I think I have an alternative that I'd like to propose, but I'm happy to have this discussion.
Okay. You know, well, you know, this is an up or down vote, John. So if you
Yeah.
have an alternative before we do an up, I mean, now it's on the table, so I can't really pull it back. But what is your alternative?
My alternative is, since I believe that we allowed the Black Lives Matter sign in error, and I also believe we've been allowing political signs in error on public property, that the select board would agree to post both signs from the select board and treat them timing-wise as a political sign. They can go up 2 weeks before the election, they go down the day after. And same thing at the November election. And then we have a discussion at our next town meeting about how we want to handle this going forward.
By doing so, John, we've created a public forum.
No, we don't. If we said, if it's
No,
the select board that posts it rather than allowing a member of the public to post it.
Right, no, and I appreciate what you said. I agree. It makes a lot of sense, but based on what I've read, once you've accomplished that, you've created a public forum.
Yeah, regardless of whether we post it or other people post it, it's a public forum.
Well, not if we do, if we stick to the PUD and change that.
Yeah,
If
no,
we
I'm just
post it-
agreeing with you that I think John was making a distinction between allowing Melanie to post the sign versus us posting it. And in terms of a public forum, there's no distinction.
As far as whether we post it or she posts it?
Correct. Still
Well,
a public forum.
But a public forum is, yeah, but isn't that a public forum though?
Right.
Mary?
That's
Yeah.
what she's saying, is it is a public forum. And
So that means, no, and I understand that. Okay, I just wanted to be clear. I want to get my head wrapped around this because I've read up a little bit about it. And once you've created the public forum, it's very, very difficult to cease a public forum once you've established that as part of the select board, approval. And which means that you now have to allow any signage with free content to exist without the select board's approval.
Pretty much the case. We can only we can only regulate based on content-free.
Correct. That's right.
regulation.
Exactly.
so then
we can require the process. In other words, you still have to come before the select board to get
Oh,
approval.
So if that's
you
true
can't-
that it's a public forum, then how is Montpelier painting Black Lives Matter and declining by a select board town council action and declining to allow other paintings to accompany that?
No, I'm
I'm actually asking Mary Kate that.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't, unless Steve asked the town attorney, I haven't dug that deep to figure out whether, whether there's a
Perhaps-
distinction or not.
and
I think
that was actually Melody's original request as she came to us. I did not delve that deep with the town attorney. There's a town attorney and one of the assistant attorneys, Kevin Kite, on that phone call. They were pretty specific that allowing an all lives matter sign or a Gladstone flag or a science is real sign, all of those would count as public forum, right? And
they
creation
made
of a public forum.
They made no distinction between whether the select board voted to put something up versus a member of the, versus allowed a public, or you just didn't get into that level of detail?
He did. He just said as soon as you post that sign, as soon as you allow it on public land, whether you do it or Joe does it.
Signs erected by the town,
Yeah. Signs directed by the town.
not by the general public at will.
That's true. Right.
It's not a public forum. That's not good advice in my opinion, but.
Well, that may be true, and perhaps we can go back and do that. It's not clear to me that this. Well, that's a separate issue. I see that signs erected by the state or town.
Well, that's UPD. The question, I think what Mary Kate's raising is that state or federal law may say it doesn't matter whether it was the town or not. It's, that they may supersede our UPD and say, you just created a forum. And basically what that's saying is that the select board decides to allow one, the select board is mandated to, on their own initiative, post anything else that's requested of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I understood too.
That's what I understood.
Yeah, we can't control the content. Free speech.
Burlington and Montpelier? Same.
That doesn't make sense. Like, there doesn't
add
have
up.
to be a Stephen Pilcher Day because there's a Martin Luther King Jr. Day. You know what I'm saying? Like, people,
Right.
town councils, city councils, legislatures. I mean, that doesn't make sense. There's no way that Montpelier is obliged to now, like, paint anything else that anyone else ever wants painted on the. I mean, they had a vote about it. They can, councils and select boards can vote to do stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of. That doesn't make any. It's not reasonable. That said, though, I would really hate to see the select board post an All Lives Matter and a Black Lives Matter sign. That would, I mean, imagine that, just for the record, like, imagine that getting written up that Monkston chooses to. It's just, I would definitely not want the town council to choose to erect both of them.
You'd hate to think Moncton cares about all people.
Yes, we do. So let's I have a motion on the floor and a second to ratify the creation of a public forum in the town of Moncton. Are you guys ready for the vote?
I guess I'm still not clear that we have the authority to do that unless the lawyer has weighed in on that as well.
Well, did you want to pick up the other discussion first, John? I mean,
Well, it really doesn't matter,
well,
I don't really care about the alternate that I offered. It was not a motion. We can forget that entirely. I'm just not sure how we can consider a motion that appears to be in violation of our unified planning document. I mean, we can vote. My vote will be no because of that, but we can just vote, and it's going to be. I think it would need to be subject to review by the town attorney.
would you like to make that amendment?
I think we should just vote on what was Mary Kate pushed out and vote our conscience and move on and figure it out.
Okay.
To clarify,
Bill?
so by voting yes or no for Moncton to create a public forum, maybe I missed some of this, that will allow signs to be posted on that green triangle and any signs that are content free?
That's correct.
Right.
That,
I can assure you that this is not going to be a unanimous vote.
It may be.
It might.
Does creating a public forum also allow any businesses to post their signs there too?
I have no idea, John. I mean, we're allowed here to, as you say, you know, the UPD has laid out signs of blah 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 blah, community events and agricultural operations. All right, so on this motion to ratify the creation of a public forum, John, how do you vote?
Hey,
Nay. Paul, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mary Kate?
Nay.
Bill Martin?
Nay.
And Steve Pilcherson, nay. All right. So, I mean, that's really on consideration, and I hear Melody and Jamie Schulte's, and that's a separate conversation. One is not really on the agenda, and I'm not really prepared to take it up. So I believe on that basis, we've rescinded our the permission for a Black Lives Matter sign on town property. And Jim, obviously, an All Lives Matter sign's not going up there either. So thank you very much.
This is Patricia. No, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the candidate signs are going to be not allowed either, I take it? Is that right?
So that's actually the next portion of the new business was our sign policy. And I drafted one. We've always had one. We've had one that's just kind of like, oh, this is how we do stuff. Doesn't mean that it's the right way we do stuff. It's just, this is what we always talked about. I mean, it's pretty much what you see on the UPD.
you should read that for the folks who are on by phone.
I will do that. What I believe, this came out of my head. I've been on the select board now for 10 years, I think. Started with John Phillips as chair. Campaign signs are allowed within 2 weeks of the election and must be removed the day after the election. Temporary event signs are allowed for a maximum of 2 weeks. Signs advertising local farms are allowed. This is my rewriting of what's in the UPD, and other signs by permission of the select board. I don't know. That's the way I think we've always operated.
This is Mary Kate. It seems like, that and more is already in the UPD. Why would we have a policy?
A policy
that
of our own?
may or may not in some ways conflict. Like the language in the UPD says election signs as opposed to campaign signs.
Yeah.
So my concern would be that.
Well, we don't need one. This is what we always did. It didn't mean that we need a special sign.
So, you're summarizing what our practice has been.
Right.
And the practice may or may not have been in concordance with the UPD.
It appears that it was, though.
Well, I would argue number 4 on your list is not.
Signs erected by the town.
Right, signs erected by the town. I'll give you, for instance, John, you pulled a U.S. Census sign.
Yeah.
Probably a felony, and you're going to jail. But I think we can allow that sign on.
I think we can. I think we certainly can, but we did not.
I get that, but the only way we could do that is under signs erected by the state or town. Is that not true? Your reading of the UPD?
Yeah, I guess it depends on whether the census is deemed a community event,
Yeah, I would call it a community
and
event.
not, in that case, it falls under I on our UPD, but
Okay,
I think the UPD intentionally did not give the select board the authority to post whatever sign they wanted. Well, I guess it does, because signs erected by the state or town. But
Yep.
okay. So it doesn't sound to me like we really need, our policy has just been following what UPD has codified for us. So
And now we're all familiar with it.
we're all good to go.
Good thing.
All good to go.
So
Yeah.
I did have one question on this subject, more along the lines of your practices. Do we want to consider, when we allow signs to be up there, that contact information for the person who posted the sign should be either on the sign or given to the town clerk or something?
I think that's a great idea. I think that we would ask, the planning commission is in the process of updating the UPD.
Yeah.
And so we can ask for that to be added to the UPD.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, because as close as we're getting to campaign season, to change the ground rules at this point for like political signs or something would be, it's too short a notice to change. But yes, it's something to consider for future.
Right, and some of that's controlled by state law,
Yep.
which the UPD recognizes.
Right. And I think the campaign signs actually is state law. They're allowed to put them in the public right of way.
Well, public right of way is that the same thing as publicly owned property?
The ROW of the the road right of way.
Yeah.
As long as they don't interfere with traffic.
Yeah, so is putting them in the public right of way doesn't mean you can go put them anywhere in the public right of way. I can't put it on my neighbor's yard, but that's still the public right of way. I have to put it in the public right of way on my own property.
I don't, John. You should have been a lawyer. Maybe you were in your past life. I don't know.
Could be.
So I'm sorry. Is there a point here? Do we need a sign policy? Is there something that we need to do, John?
No, I just said I agreed with you that it's something, if we're going to ask about putting ID on it, it's something to suggest to the planning commission for the next revision of this.
All right. So Jim, Burnett, you're all set with regards to your request?
Yep, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Kathy Bastiglia, are you still there? Hi, Kathy. Have you fallen asleep?
No, I'm still here.
Excellent. You wanted to post a sign.
How timely for this conversation.
It wasn't by accident. Please tell us about what you want to do.
So, as many of you probably know, I am part of a committee that is moving to create a Moncton Community Dog Park. Those of you who were at town meeting may have seen us in the hallway sharing information about our intentions to create the dog park. And we've made some movement in applying for grants and securing some donations. And it's been a while and a lot has happened since town meeting day. And so we wanted to just make sure that the community is informed about what we are doing to bring a dog park to Moncton. So we would like to host an informational session on August 15th at Morris Park. And so the request that I have for the select board today is to seek approval to post a sign. We'd like to post a sign at 2 locations during the month of August. One, and it would just be like a day that we would put up a sign on August 8th at the Recycling Center to inform people about our intention to host this information day at Morris Park. And then we would like to also put that same informational sign outside of the primary voting on August 11th. So the content for the sign, and I don't know if I'm allowed to share a screen here or not, Steve, but if people wanted to see the content, oh, I guess I'm not allowed.
Steve can enable that for you.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty basic content that we would share. It would be, you know, informational meeting would be the heading with Moncton Community Dog Park beneath it, Saturday, August 15th, 2020, 10 a.m. to 12 noon at Morris Park. And then we would have if you have questions, you can email dogpark@monctonvt.com.
Yeah, I can't imagine it fits on, I think it fits under our, why are we getting this feedback? Kathy, is that you? I'm gonna mute you a little bit.
Yeah, it's Kathy.
Yeah. All right. Does anybody on the select board have any issues with that plan? It seems like it fits within what we have been talking about.
I'm recusing myself on any discussion on this as I'm a part of the dog park committee.
Yeah. Oh. So sorry. So Kathy, very quickly, I muted you. Maybe you can unmute yourself. I don't know if we'll struggle with this, but and how come you're not going to put one over, you know, around the circle, you know, around the dog walking area?
Oh, at Morris Park? Well,
Yeah.
we could, that's a great idea, Steve. If we have permission, we could put one at Morris Park as well. And we are, our intention is also to, once the primary is over, to ask if we can use the town green sign there and put up a little informational there about that. So, you know, once the primary is over on the 11th, on the 12th with that sign on the ridge, also putting information there. Our intention also is to share it on, you know, social media, Front Porch Forum and Facebook and whatnot.
Yeah. All right. And it's just a regular campaign size, you know, election.
Yes, like a lawn, like, yeah, a
regular
political
lawn
yard
sign.
sign
Yeah.
size.
Yeah. Sounds great. Yeah. Does anybody on the select board have any problems with any of that? All right.
This
I
is
think you're,
John. I'd make a motion to approve the sign under section 569, paragraph I, community event. To approve the sign for the dog park informational meeting in the locations she mentioned.
all right.
Second by Bill.
All right. We can do this. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 And opposed? And abstentions? Okay. All right.
Thank
So-
you.
You're welcome. I'm looking at the agenda. I'm looking at the time. It's 8:20. Not too bad. I don't think we're in a rush for a review delinquent tax policy for temporary changes, and we've discussed it before. Are we ready for that discussion tonight, or do we want to kick that can down the road again?
We've got time. I'm for all kicking it down the road.
Okay.
Me too.
I've spoken a little bit about the new town offices and library status. You know, the official groundbreaking, the groundbreaking by the Naylor and Breen will start on the 10th of August. We've gotten our bond rate. That will all become official August 6th. We've received Most of our permits, we have a public water permit. Terry's still here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got that as well. The well tested positively again. So that's all. That's just what I can give you from there. The emergency management status, director status. You see it as I see it. I believe that we're going for a total mask mandate from Governor Scott starting August 1st. It's pretty much of a good idea.
Hey, Steve, did you also want to mention under that the primary voting, which I guess is falling under Governor Scott's, but it sounds like masks are going to be required at the polling station.
Yeah, I don't know that you, yeah, maybe. Okay.
Well, that's what Sharon says.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to go research that because I think there are people that are not able to wear masks, and there's no way you can restrict somebody from voting.
Well, it would be the same as people who are not able to can go into a store today, but it may fall under the governor's mandate anyway, so the question may be moot. But
okay.
Sharon has had 4 large plexiglass screens made to be put on each table that we all work at.
Yeah, it's sort of a sneeze guard.
Yeah.
I think, and she may still be looking for people to work that election. We'll see. There's also, I should have mentioned under announcements, Betsy, I believe, oh, I better be sure that the Moncton Town Democratic Committee is having our caucus. There it is, August 5th at 2020 at 7 o'clock. So for most of everybody here knows what JPs do. JPs administer elections. They can marry people, and they sit on the board of the civil authority and hear tax abatements and tax appeals. Actually, it's how I started. I thought it was great. Okay, there you go.
Steve, we're looking for all 5 JPs at this. They all expire at the same time, correct?
They do. They do. Currently, the agreement between the 2 chairs is that each committee only puts up 3 candidates. So there's a Republican and there's a Democratic. And don't ask me why there's not a progressive. I just don't know. But currently, that's the way it runs.
Steve, can I ask you a question about your status as the emergency management person?
Sure.
The COVID thing. Are you notified when there's cases within our town? That's my question.
I am not notified directly, no. I have pretty much the same, you know, I get the daily bulletin from the state, as most of the rest of you probably do or may or may not. But no, I don't find out directly if we have a case or who they are. No.
I have heard that we do have at least one in town.
That may be.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I have heard of somebody as well. So.
Yep. So let's go down through some of, and then I have this big chunk under other business, but let's do these under old business first. Infringement of right-of-way on Jockey Lane. John, what? As far as we know, Tim's going to go do the survey or what?
Well, you had the last conversation with anybody.
That's what I thought. So that's what I heard Jim Carroll say.
Okay.
So,
Tim was supposed to send me a proposal or a quote or something, which I haven't heard. So I was kind of surprised he was going ahead to do it.
So he's not going to do it until you get a quote from him. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
So I will. I'll touch base with him again.
Ping him.
Did Jim have anything else to add in your conversation with him, or just that?
He did not. He
Okay.
did not. I've had some interesting conversations with Gil Coates, who's given me some more ideas that, like, if I wanted to look back in the records, what kind of dates I would be looking at. But holy mackerel. I don't know of those of you who have looked back in select board records or land records back before the invention of the typewriter. It's tough.
It's hard to read when you're not used to that script.
Yeah.
We're talking 1780 something, if I remember right.
Some of it's 1780s, some of it's 1800s. Okay, salvage yards in Moncton. As far as I know, we haven't really made all that much progress. I know that Chris Purley approached the same guy we were talking about earlier and had his bell rung. Town 36. I'm sorry.
At this point, we're just basically stuck waiting for the state to enforce it, and they've only got one guy, so it's not likely to happen? Or
We're not even there. We're basically trying to convince these people that the price of steel is at a point where it makes sense to get rid of their junk cars.
Yeah.
Even though it might be grandma's car and we can't possibly let it go. If somebody said, well, how about $150? Would that make it a little easier?
Yeah.
That's sort of where we're at.
Grandma must have had a lot of cars in some cases.
No comment. Town 36 road reclassification. We really need to get moving on this, and I think our first task is really the Pond Road. Mary Kate, once upon a time you offered to help with that, and we should get together and try and do that when you get back from all your other stuff.
Should we add Pond Road to that?
Yeah.
Line item in our agenda?
Yeah, we should. I'm not even going to touch the other ones. Other business. Bill.
It's not on the agenda, other business, but in the minutes that we approved from a previous meeting, I believe we all agreed to hire the Heinsberg sergeant to do.
Oh, please, thank you.
And the reason I didn't proceed, even though I think we said to give it a try, was because we had the sheriff in town twice in the last 10 days. A female sheriff who's approved to do overweight with their brand new truck, which says commercial enforcement. But because that female sheriff is pregnant, they wouldn't let her do it without a second deputy in the truck with her. And I saw 2 deputies each time, which means on their billable hours, that's twice as much bill.
And which comes up to be about at their current rate, I think is about $64. So it's kind of a wash.
Do you want me to get a written proposal from Heinsberg as to what this will cost, with the understanding that it's just a 10-hour trial basis?
Sure. And if they're willing to tell us where they think it's a great place to put it, I'd be interested in that too.
All right, I'll do that.
I thought we were going to do a trial run for a period of time to see how this plays out.
We were, and I'm the one that sort of backed off when I saw the sheriff in town.
Right. I haven't discussed it with the sheriff, because he was willing to, Mike Elmore is making a serious effort at trying to make it happen. So hopefully it pays for itself too. I mean, you hope that you get anyway, that's fine. No biggie. So, sure. I mean, let's ask for Heinsberg, and we can reach out to Mike Elmore and say, hey, Mike, we can get this done at this price. Perhaps it's a better use of your time to have your deputies, rather than doubling up, that we can get it done this way, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and he can just talk to us when things loosen back up for him if he's interested in
exactly.
back and do it.
Yep. You know, if we can get it done for $32 an hour, then I'm all for it. But right now we can't. Okay. So other business. We are going to disappear into executive session. I would propose, I guess I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to review financial data from one of our contractors.
So moved, Bill.
Second it, Paul.
Am I
That-
close enough, Mary Kate, on one of the reasons to go into executive session?
Can't hear her.
I believe don't we have to give a specific explanation of the contents of this executive session for the
Yeah,
minutes?
that's what I'm saying, to discuss the financials of one of our contractors.
Right.
This is basically related to, they're providing the financials so that we could consider that in lieu of requiring a bond on the,
That's correct. I mean,
Yeah, on the
you know,
building.
mea culpa, I should have had that in front of you today under new business was a change order. Putting in the, it would have been the same process. I mean, if we decide that we look at those financials, then we would still like to have a change order. I'm not asking you to vote on it, but what we do is we would come out and we would schedule another special select board meeting to consider a change order for a performance bond from Nayland Breen.
Yep.
Right. So let me see if I can make this happen.
Wait, whoa, before you go.
Before I go.
Do you need me to stick around, or are you gonna?
Would you be willing to stick around?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as you're not like 2 hours.
No, we're not going to be around. Let's see.
I have a question I'd like to ask after, but I can wait.
So do I just stay here? You're gonna kick me out, kind of thing?
No. I think
You guys go to a different room, and then Jamie and I will stay here. I think.
exactly.
And John Parker will stay here.
We're close.
Still don't see Paul back unless I'm just missing him.
Paul.
Oh, there he
Paul
is. Now he's back. Yeah.
Hi, Paul.
It actually stalled on me, but it came on its own.
Yeah. Well, I killed the executive session room. That worked pretty well.
So Bill Jost popped on when you guys were in executive session, and I didn't know if he was supposed to be with you, but
No, I don't know.
okay.
I don't know.
I texted. Okay.
Where's?
But he's gone now. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Jamie, you had something that you wanted from us? We're under other business?
Yeah, I guess a question. You know, most committees I think are still meeting like this.
Yes.
Which is fine, but some committees have, or at least one committee has begun to meet in person again. You know, and choosing a larger venue like the fire station. But the question I have is, what is the expectation around mask wearing for committees? And does that change with regard to the governor's mandate that takes effect on Saturday?
Well, we haven't taken it up as a board. I mean, I would guess that I would assume that if I was in any indoor environment, period, I don't care what's going on, I'm going to be wearing a mask.
I think with the governor's mandate, it's required.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Unless you have a, medical reason.
And if
Okay.
we have a meeting and somebody refuses to wear a mask, what do we do?
Unless they provide a doctor's signature.
Either an attendee or a
they
committee
get to
member.
leave.
You cannot ask them for doctors because that would violate HIPAA.
Yeah.
But if they say it's medical, you have to take them at their word, but create some social distancing space to keep everyone safe, or just decide we're not going to meet in person.
if you've got somebody who, for medical reasons, can't wear masks.
I mean, would you like me to be more blunt, or is my point
No.
generally
Well,
understood?
yeah, Jamie, tell us what you're thinking.
Well, I'm a member of several committees, and there's only one where we're meeting in person. And there are some folks who aren't comfortable with meeting online for various reasons, either technological or otherwise, I don't know. And are also not necessarily showing an interest in wearing masks. So, if I think about our last meeting, it was solely in person, and probably, I would guess 60 or 70% of the attendees were consistently wearing masks. So, it was very borderline for me. And I think as I look at the mandate coming and as, the overall situation and trying to get the state into as good of a position as we can before school starts and trying to keep school open, I want to make sure that I can participate in committees as a member, or if I just attend a committee meeting like this one as a resident, that, if there's somebody who doesn't really have a good reason, but just a preference, that, it shouldn't impact me. It should impact them in terms of their ability to participate, unless they can sort of convince me or someone reasonably that it's a medical reason. You know what I'm saying?
From what I've seen from the governor's mandate is it's mandated, but I haven't really seen anything in terms of enforcement. So I think that's an issue. But we as a select board could just decide that because it seems that's an issue, that we're going to just have all the committees meet not in person.
Oh,
Is that possible for all the committees?
the rec committee would struggle mightily, as would the historical committee.
The rec
Not the-
committee's been.
As
the
would
rec
apparently
committee-
the DRB.
Well, the rec committee's been working in person out at Morris Park, standing at quadrants within under the pavilion, speaking at 15-foot.
I mean, outdoors might be a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, no, outdoors is, yeah. Well, I think I've heard that it seems to be a lot better. I personally will not go into the fire station at all, ever, under the circumstances. Because if you don't have a negative pressure and you have even 2 or 3 people
Right, with the
that decide
ceiling
that they're
fans
not-
running and.
Yeah, if you don't have people that are wearing masks, and if they have if they don't feel like they can do that, that's fine. I understand that. But I don't believe that anybody who's serving a public service has to put their life in jeopardy to serve the community when you have this as an outlet.
And I would comment that a couple of folks came in with a mask on, sat down and took it off. So their argument is gone right there.
Right.
It was just a comfort thing, right?
Yeah, if they're medically unable, then how were they wearing it when they came in?
That's correct, sir.
I got it, somewhat related. When Sharon asked me to work the primary polls, I told her I'd sign up to work if masks were required, and she said they were going to be. If they're not going to be required, I'd reconsider whether I'm willing to work it.
We can still get folks who don't want to wear a mask an absentee ballot, so they need to wear one at the polls, and that should be
well, I mean,
on the select board.
That's what I feel about hanging out in the fire station with half the town wandering through.
Right, and so I'm not planning to attend the DRB meeting tomorrow night for that reason, because I fully expect there'll be a mix of behaviors at the meeting, right? Which is okay. There's not necessarily, yeah. But after Saturday, I would expect the select board to back my perspective more than someone who doesn't want to wear a mask.
Well, no, if you had brought
I understand you can't do much.
Right.
I would back your perspective now, but that's just my personal opinion.
Right. We could enforce it. We would send a constable to the meeting.
Who probably wouldn't wear his mask when he came in to enforce it.
Who is the
constable? Charlie Heisman.
Oh.
I don't think
Well,
Charlie
they probably
would
listen
be-
to him at least.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's true. Everyone, August 1 has to wear a mask under the governor's mandate. Jamie, I can't say that people aren't gonna, people could still show up and not wear a
Right.
mask. And then the question is,
Sure.
what do we do about it? And do we enforce it? How do we enforce it?
Right. The question is who leaves? Like if I'm uncomfortable or Jamie's uncomfortable, we're on the board. Like who leaves? Do we leave?
I think the person that leaves is the one who's not following the governor's mandate.
Yeah,
Well,
but how do you make that happen?
But how do you make it happen? That's the big problem.
Right.
I guess I would, one thing we could say is if people aren't wearing masks, that, the select board directs that the meeting be postponed.
Yep. Certainly if you don't have, yeah, that's not a bad, I mean.
Would you guys be willing to put something in writing, like at your next meeting
Yeah.
on the agenda about it? And then we have like some sort of policy we can pull out if needed?
Can we look at this on the next meeting? Because I think I think this is a lot of work that we need to do.
Oh yeah, next meeting. Yeah.
No,
Well, we can't
it's
vote
nothing
on
we
it.
could do. So let us get back to, if I understood where we were on the executive session, you guys would like to schedule a special meeting, if required, to consider a change order to place a performance bond into the contract. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's the purpose of the meeting, is to consider that proposal.
And that, I don't know, if construction starts on the 10th of August, I don't know that, they can wait that long for an executed performance bond, but I will find out. So I guess I would ask for, and I always have this authority, I'm just gonna let you guys know, if I need to, I'm gonna ask for a special session.
Yeah. I'm available any night this week except Wednesday.
No, it wouldn't be that quick.
Oh, we have to have 7 days, don't we?
No, 24 hours.
Oh, then whatever. Let's do it up.
Well, let me see what Tanner says. I mean, I'd much rather do it on a regular. If we could do it August 10th, I'd do it August 10th.
Yeah, although if that's the only thing we're talking about, it's easy enough to do. It's not like we're all running down to the town hall to do the meeting.
It's true.
Right.
Okay. Let me, and Tanner would have to draw up the change order anyway and really get some real numbers there. Okay. But what I heard was a consensus that you guys would really like to consider a change order, and that I will direct Tanner to get it to us, and we'll try and do whatever we have to do to get it executed in time for them to do their normal construction start. Okay. Barring that, I believe our next meeting is August 10th, 7 o'clock. Any other business to come before the board?
No other business, but I just want you to make sure when you send this recording to be posted that your executive session, remember, I'm assuming that got recorded.
I believe it did not.
Okay.
Yeah, something to check anyway before it gets posted.
I can look at it, so I'll check that it didn't happen. It'll just, I assume that what I'll see is you and Jamie and John Parker just sort of sitting around.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys didn't say anything that you're worried about showing up in that, did you?
Oh.
Okay.
Just that I was drinking seltzer, not,
There you go.
not what it looks like.
That was it.
Yeah.
There you go. I would entertain. I'd entertain.
A quick comment, just
Please.
really pleased to see what the interest rate is looking like for the bond. So great news on that.
Yeah, no kidding. No.
Yeah,
kidding.
that's excellent.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
John, so moved.
Bill, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned.